Yakhe Kwinana out on 2,000 rand bail and faces charges of extortion and malicious damage to property in an unrelated case. The former SAA board member still has to answer for her role in state capture. During her tenure at the national carrier, she's been given 20,000 rand bail on the matter. And these are not the only cases she has to deal with. ENCA senior reporter Aviwe Mtila finds out more.
This is where the Hollywood-style arrest happened. I was sitting there, and my lawyer sitting there, and my husband went out to welcome them. They came in numbers, about 15 of them, with gloves and with rifles, without the uniform that I could see that they are police.
The name Yakhe Kwinana has been on the tips of many tongues over the last number of weeks. From the arrest on the 17th of March at a home in Centurion to her detainment by police, kept in police custody for 12 days, till she was eventually released on bail, facing charges of extortion and malicious damage to property. Now, that's not the only case, as she also has another pending matter facing fraud charges. Now, the 61-year-old joins us now just to delve into some of these issues and what the public discourse is. Mama, thank you for joining us at ENCA. I want to start about that arrest on the 17th of March, Hollywood-style arrest, where the NIU itself, National Intervention Unit, is on your radar. That's been tasked to not leave any stone unturned when it comes to extortion matters. They believe that you were evading arrest on the 17th of March, given how they've been trying to be in contact with you. I want you to maybe first respond to that.
Much as I know that I was charged for malicious damage to property and extortion, I don't have any further information except for what was discussed in court, but I do not have any written document in that regard. I would therefore speculate that it is because of our farm in East London, which was invaded from 2018, and we got an eviction order in 2020, November 2020. That eviction order basically was saying people who are already on the farm must vacate. People who are outside must not enter. And all structures must be demolished. So that's what it was saying. And in fact, in addition to the illegal occupiers who are coded there, there is also South African Police Service, which I understand this unit that was here to arrest me falls under. So SAPS was supposed to also assist with the eviction of those people. 2020 up to 2025 to date, they haven't done anything. Now, what I did in July, I got them to pay, because I am paying rates and I'm paying services. I got them to pay the illegal occupiers, and they did not respond. In August, I hired the services of GAPS, the security services, to make sure that the illegal occupiers do not enter our farm without the authorization, our authorization. And in fact, we have been trying to get them out, and when we put the board, I remember at some stage I put in a board of about 6,000 rand saying no unauthorized access, and they destroyed it within no time. And also,
not to chip in, Mama, but Gabs, and understanding is simply Mchali, the taxi boss, who also has a security company,
yes.
And you mentioned that you've been getting them to pay. Is that where then the charge of extortion comes from? Because the National Intervention Unit suggests that you've been extorting the people that live there, Epongweni, and also damaging their property.
Yes. Although I don't have the information as to who did I extort exactly, but I think it arises from that. And it should be noted that when they did not respond, and I put in the services not to raid the money, but to protect myself, because they were chasing me, they promised to kill me on numerous occasions. and they were also destroying the infrastructure that we have there, like fencing. So basically, the reason why I appointed armed security services was to protect myself. Now, as part of protecting myself, the people who were outside, I would not let them in. The people who were inside, I would let them out and not let them in until we agreed that they are going to pay the rent. And most people started to pay. That site has about 125 stands that they cut for themselves. Out of that 125, only few people were not paying. I'm not talking about the people who cannot afford to pay. Those who cannot afford to pay, whom I know their circumstances, are still sitting on the fund, they are not paying. So basically the extortion, okay, the other few people who were not paying took me to court. They took me to harassment court, which is a criminal court. They took me to civil court, and the harassment court case was finalized, and it was agreed that they needed to pay 70,000 in total. And in fact, the magistrate said, if you can't pay in a private property, you must leave. Even if Kwinana had charged 100,000 per stand, if you don't want to pay or you are unable to pay, you must vacate. And you must pay 70,000. If she wants 70,000, which we also negotiated because I wanted 100,000, they offered 50,000. And then in court, the magistrate negotiated like for me to go down and them to go up. Hence, we agreed on 70,000.
So you suggest that there's an agreement?
Yes.
Even when it comes to the court on the people living in your property, that they need to pay? Because the National Intervention Unit seems to suggest that that agreement is the extortion that they're charging you with. And maybe talk us through the malicious damage to property. Are you damaging these properties then?
Before we go there, if you talk about extortion and the NIU in court did demonstrate that they did not even know that we had the court orders. So what they were investigating before they came here to arrest me and embarrass me in front of my good neighbors, I don't know. Because they did not know that there is that order. In fact, the investigating officer did not even know what an eviction order is. So basically, I don't understand. Now, coming to malicious damage to property, what I need to convey, first of all, is that all people who are there are in contempt of court, because they are supposed to have left in 2020. And therefore, and also the eviction order that I have, the 2020 eviction order, is saying we must demolish. And therefore, the malicious damage to property, I don't know how it would be avoided if the court order is saying demolish. So basically, the malicious damage to property, and whose property is it? Because a property, you prove it by title deed. Do they have the title deeds? And also to put up the structure, you need the structure to be approved by the municipality. Where are the approved structures there? In the first place, they are not even supposed to be there. And the eviction order is saying I must demolish, and therefore, yes, I did demolish.
And in court, it was mentioned by your legal representatives that you believe there are higher powers pulling the strings in this matter, given that you spent 12 days in police custody. Maybe take us through your thoughts around that.
In fact, that's also what I think. And I also do not understand, because the Premier knows about that farm. And he said it's a private matter, rightly so. The Mayor, Princess Fagu, knows about that farm. And she also said it is a private matter. Now, I really do not know why all of a sudden it is a public matter, because everybody told me that it's a private matter. So that's why I am saying there are higher powers. And in fact, for such a team to come all the way from Eastern Cape to arrest me here, there were more than 15 people here carrying guns and wearing barra gloves, coming to pick me up at my age with the accusations that I am extorting and I'm maliciously damaging the properties that are in my farm. Who has got the right to have a property in my farm? Yes. So that's why I think that there are higher powers, because now it's the state versus Yakhe Kwinana, whereas the other members of the state did indicate that it is a private matter. Now, why is it all of a sudden a public matter? I really do not understand.
So on this extortion case, you mentioned in court that you're going to take it forward. How so? What's next?
I am going to sue the state on wrongful arrest. Everything went wrong. Actually, I was, of course, as I said, the warrant of arrest was given to the people who remained here whilst I was taken to the police station, and therefore I was not served with the warrant of arrest. And even before the warrant of arrest, I was supposed to be warned to go to the police station, and I was supposed to be given 14 days to go and present myself at the police station. That did not happen, let alone the lies that they were coming here to take a statement, only to find out that they are here to snatch me. And in fact, when I was in prison, both in the cells in Sentin and also in the prison there, I was exposed to a lot of unfavorable conditions, whereas I was not even supposed to be there in the first place. And as a result, I suffered. I had the whole lot of infections. Actually, today I did go to see the doctor who referred me to a psychologist. Tomorrow I'm going to a psychologist because I suffered a lot. My last born was in Egypt. She flew all the way from Egypt to here. She also suffered from depression because of what is happening here. My whole family was turned upside down by the people that I do not know, that I think they have got an agenda that I do not know. So I am going to sue, as I said in court. I am going to do that.
Okay, let's park that case for a second and look at the other matter. You are, of course, out on 20,000 rand bail in a fraud matter related to conflict of interest while you were the SAA board member. And that was, of course, prominent in the Zondo commission itself.
If we can start with this case that is at Palm Ridge, where I got 20,000 rand bail. That case is labeled fraud. That is what you, as the journalist, you would call it 10 upon 1, where the heading is so big and there is nothing in it. So what this case is saying when I was a board member at SAA and PwC and Gongi were appointed as auditors, I failed to disclose that at some stage in previous years, in fact it's written past a relationship with PwC and Gongi. And then now there is nothing that says you must disclose your past relationship. And there's nothing that says failure to disclose a conflict of interest constitutes fraud, especially that you did not benefit from that failure to disclose. It doesn't say I benefited from the audit fees, the 59 million on which the bail was calculated, the 59 million being the audit fees for Ngongi and PwC. On the 10th of April, the magistrate will conclude whether it meets the criteria of fraud, which it doesn't, because we also highlighted the elements of fraud, and none of them is in this case of a conflict of interest. So it's going to decide whether this constitutes fraud, or it should go to the civil court, or it should be dismissed. Regardless of where it goes, we are not worried. We are ready for it. We are ready to get it on trial if it does go there, and we are sure that we are going to win because there is no fraud in that transaction.
So are you saying then that the former Chief Justice Raymond Zondo and the Commission itself got it wrong?
In fact, former Chief Justice missed an opportunity in my case, where they came thinking that they know everything. And in fact, what they would have said, Mrs. Kwinana, what is happening at SAA? They would have had a better deal compared to this one that they were talking about there. If you look, for instance, at the fed cakes on which I trended, I said to Zondo, and I'm also saying here now, that this is one of my best stories at SAA, where the executives wanted to hire a Lufthansa company for the provision of catering services at the expense of Chefs, which is a company of SAA. So it's one of the things that I would repeat, given an opportunity, to save the South African jobs. That's also what I said to Zondo Commission.
What would they found then if they focus on SAA? What was happening at SAA?
No, I can't say that, what is happening. Zondo missed it, and they missed it, so that's fine. They must just concentrate on me as they are currently doing, and leave the SAA thieves there at SAA.
And all of those, of course, have marred your standing as a chartered accountant. South African Institute of Chartered Accountants wanting 6.1 million rand. Have you paid that? And what's happening regarding your standing as a CA?
I am still a qualified chartered accountant. SAICA is a non-profit organization, and it is voluntary. Not all chartered accountants are members of SAICA. So SAICA is a voluntary organization. They cannot take away my CA qualification because I was not awarded, I earned it. Regarding the practice, I am not practicing as a chartered accountant. I stopped practicing as a chartered accountant in 2016. So basically, it hasn't had any effect on me. And the 6.2 million, I mean, it's really laughable because they struck me off the roll. And now they struck me off the roll of their organization, and then now request for 6.1 million. On what basis? So I really have to see it passing in court, that one. And in fact, I am willing, when they issue whatever, I don't know whether it will be the invoice or what, or with their lawyers, I will defend it in court.
If you were to look back and redo some of your career, even from SAA, from these court cases, the allegations, what would you redo?
I think with SAA and all state-owned organizations, I wouldn't want to be a board member. And in fact, I feel sorry for those who are still board members of these organizations because they are corrupt and contaminated. So I feel sorry because if your name hasn't been corrupted and contaminated, you need to praise the Lord, and it can come anytime, regardless of what you have done. Even if you haven't done anything, it can be tainted, as it has happened with me.
And is there anything that you'd want to correct or rectify, whether it be with your court cases, whether it be tenure as a chartered accountant, tenure as a board member?
As a chartered accountant, specifically with SAICA, with SAICA, I was very disappointed because they never investigated. They did not have a single document of the allegations that they were labeling on me. And in fact, being a professional organization, then I thought it's still a professional organization. Being a professional organization, I thought that they would investigate, as IRBA did. IRBA is Independent Regulatory Board for Auditors. IRBA, they got the complaint against me from OUTA. And when they got the complaint against me, they investigated. They called me to say, here is the document that OUTA is saying you have done. Please comment. And then they investigated. And then they came up with a conclusion that there is no substance in what they were saying. They investigated. That is what I was expecting from IRBA. I was very disappointed with Freeman Noval, who did not even investigate, did not take even 1 minute or 1 hour to investigate. So I was really disappointed. I thought it was a professional body until I was treated like that by the so-called professional body.
Let me give you the parting words, the final words, whether it be to people that are watching, your detractors, regarding any of the issues we've touched on, whether it be in court, chartered accountant, or SAA board member. Your final closing words.
As I said, I learned a lot. Also, from being a board member of SAA, I learned a lot. And as I said, also what I am going through, I'm still learning. I may be old, but I am still learning, and I am happy with the lessons. What I can say to those who are still board members, they need to have lawyers next to their side. And they need to know that regardless of what you do, whether you do things by the book, because now I do things by the book, whether you do things by the book, if someone is plotting against you, for whatever reason, you will be in the situation that I am in today. And in fact, anyone who may be celebrating that Kwinana is in trouble, me, I would not celebrate it, because anything is possible with anyone.
All right, thank you very much, Yakhe Kwinana there. Having a sit down with ENCA, just talking us through some of the matters that are in the public domain, whether it be from the Zondo Commission, her as SAA board member, and of course those extortion and malicious damage to property charges that she's currently embroiled in court. Not the only ones, the fraud as well. Of course, just a bit of insight from Yakhe Kwinana.